Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gallery Bar Book of Games here at the incredible Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Marc Farzetta along with you here in the Malamut Law pregame show ahead of already week 2 of NFL action as your Philadelphia Eagles have their home opener against those Minnesota Vikings. And as a wise Eagles fan once said to a Vikings fan, go Birds, baby. It's going to be a battle as the Eagles are going to be without a few of their starters. We know Nakobe Dean has already been placed on injured reserve. Now Reed Blankenship missing the game. Now you go out to the cornerback position. James Bradbury going to be missing tonight's game, and we have some other questions about what's going to go on in the backfield with Kenny Gainwell also missing tonight's game. A man that is questionable going into it is a man named Fletcher Cox, a man that's never questionable, a man that's always on top of it, and all the latest reports, our Eagles veteran reporter, Mr. Derek Gunn. I got to start with you, Gunner.
Yeah.
When it comes to this matchup tonight, what are we looking at with Fletcher Cox? Can we expect him to play?
Well, Fletcher was very sore with the rib injury, but I was told earlier this morning that he will be in tonight. That's what I tweeted out. And I just checked with a couple of sources about 20 minutes ago. I said, is Fletch still in? They said, absolutely. He's a gamer. He's going to try to fight through this thing. You know, Blankenship with the ribs injuries, they made a determination on Tuesday that his rib situation was just a little bit too sore for him to play in this game tonight. But Fletcher, through treatment and everything else, he's been down this road before with rib injury, so he's going to try to fight his way through it. Will he finish what he starts? That's a big question.
I certainly hope so. Bringing some other members of our panel right now. We have Eagles Hall of Famer. You know him, you love him as well. Mr. Seth Joyner joins the program. And from Legal Hands to the Face podcast, we have Bill Colarulo joining the show as well. Seth, from a player's perspective, with all these men down, it's got to be another next man up mentality.
It's opportunity. I've always looked at it from the standpoint that it's opportunity. When someone goes down, someone else has an opportunity to step up and show what they can do. Nothing like it. There's nothing like it in the world.
All right, Bill, when you look at the matchup perspective here, we have guys like DeAndre Swift that we want to see get more opportunities. He will certainly get the opportunity that Seth Joyner just talked about. What do you like as far as the guys coming off the bench to get those opportunities? Where do you think the Eagles have the best matchup?
Well, I really think the best matchup's obviously on the offensive side of the ball. The Vikings defense is not a very good defense. So you would hope that we're going to be able to get our weapons involved this week. Dallas Goedert, a guy that had 0 targets last week, I went back and watched the game. He was open so many times in that game. Jalen Hurts was rusty. There's no doubt about it. Not playing in the preseason definitely hurt him. I expect Brian Johnson to get Jalen Hurts into a little bit of a rhythm early. Short passes to Dallas Goedert, maybe DeAndre Swift out of the backfield, which we all thought we were going to see coming into this season. So that's what I expect, really, the offense to take advantage of a weak Vikings defense.
One of the things that really got me excited for this kickoff tonight, driving through the city of Philadelphia, everyone is amped up. First off, the traffic is insane just trying to get down here, and driving by the stadiums, already parking lots full. As we know, there are already fans down there at 4:15 this morning just trying to get ready for the live game action to open up their home opener in South Philadelphia. So I know the crowd is really amped up, and one of the people that they're most amped up to see is Jalen Carter playing in his first game at Lincoln Financial Field, non-preseason, obviously. And most people, like myself included, Seth, are looking at this as if it's going to be his breakout party in South Philadelphia tonight. When you look at the Minnesota Vikings just last week, they had quarterback Kirk Cousins hit 9 times last week. Eagles were able to get to Mac Jones by comparison 7 times last week, and I think they have a better offensive line situation there in New England. So, Seth, I'll ask you this question. How much, not Willie, but how much will Jalen Carter eat tonight?
I think all the defensive tackles eat tonight. Lost, in the hype of Jalen Carter, our number 9 overall draft pick this year, was the play of Jordan Davis last week, was the play of Milton Williams last week. All 3 of those guys played outstanding games. And there's, to me, this little inner competition, if you will. You got Milton Williams, who was drafted a couple of years ago. You got Jordan Davis that was drafted just last year in the first round. And now you got this young kid that's getting a lot of attention, a lot of hype not only in the city of Philadelphia, but the national media across the board. If there's an ounce of competitiveness in you and not jealousy, there's a big difference between being jealous of what your teammate is getting and competing with what your teammate is getting and what he's doing. I'm telling you right now, it's going to inspire the entire defensive tackle, room, and they're all going to have big games because they understand what it means. They went out last week. They didn't play as well as they wanted to play. They had a whole lot of almost last week. So I really expect for all of these defensive tackles, even Fletcher. You've seen Fletcher flash, last game. I think you're going to see them all eat, and that means that's good for the guys on the edges, because when you push the pocket, there's nowhere for the quarterback to step up. That means that the guys on the edge, if they're winning their battles, they're gonna eat too.
I'm very excited about it. Of the 9 times Kirk Cousins was hit last week, 5 of those were by edge rushers. So guys, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, also looking at Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith, Gunner. This is an opportunity for them tonight to make sure that they can get in the backfield and also wreak some havoc.
Well, when you look at a quarterback like Kirk Cousins compared to Mac Jones, the one thing that Mac Jones was able to do was sidestep pressure wherever it came from, step up in the pocket, and be able to float to the outside. Kirk Cousins is not that guy. He's not the most well-versed runner. If Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter can get the same type of push in the middle and disrupt Kirk Cousins' foot timing, when he tries to float to the outside, he's not fast enough to outrun the likes of Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, and that's where they've got him. So they've got to be able, number one, be disciplined on the edges and wait for Kirk Cousins to come to you if Jalen Carter and, of course, Jordan Davis can get that significant push in the middle as they did against the New England Patriots.
As I was saying earlier, we do have an opportunity, of course, to check in on all the fun that is going on at Lincoln Financial Field tonight. We're going to be checking in with our man, Adam Malamut, of course, who was joining us here on set last week. We'll also be joined by John McMullen from Lincoln Financial Field. And then, for a little flavor, Bill, we're going to be going into the parking lot with our friend Joe Messa of Messa Law & Associates as well, where we just hope this time around we get to see the pizza oven. It's been teased many times. We never get to see the pizza oven. Bill, looking at the matchups again tonight, we just talked about what could go on with this defensive side of things. Offensively, you listened to Nick Sirianni talk throughout this week about how everything's all about game flow. And sometimes guys they'll script plays for, guys like DeAndre Swift, guys like Dallas Goedert, and for whatever reason, they shift away from getting the ball to those fellas. Who do you think is the guy that steps up between the two when it comes to DeAndre Swift and Dallas Goedert in tonight's game?
I think it's definitely going to be Dallas Goedert. He's just too good of a tight end to have 2 games in a row where you're not going to take advantage of those matchups. I'm just still so surprised they didn't do it last week. Jalen Hurts was obviously struggling. He was having a hard time reading the field. But what's your safety net? It's always your big tight end. He's always a mismatch for the defense. He's too athletic for the linebackers. He's too big for the corners and the safeties. They didn't take advantage of him last week. Goddard said all the right things this week. It's all about the win. But Dallas Goedert wants the ball tonight, and I think they're going to feed him a lot.
He was definitely playing the role of a great teammate, Seth.
I tell you, it's amazing to me that you can have a player of this stature and he can disappear out of your offense, But I think one of the things that we missed last week was what Bill Belichick did to Jalen Hurts and Brian Johnson and that offense. If you watch the game early, Jalen was dumping the ball off. He was hitting a lot of very short passes. Now, a mature quarterback understands that every single time he does that, he can move the sticks and he can keep the chains moving. He can methodically move down the field. I believe that Jalen Hurts got a little impatient as the game wore on last week, and he started pushing the ball down the field. He wanted to hit AJ, threw in the double coverage, had Dallas Goedert coming across late. He normally doesn't miss those, but the combination of the pressure and that the New England rush was getting on him with the 5-man rush, the confusion that they created with the other 5 on the second level and the single high safety, and a lot of times you couldn't even see what coverage they were in pre-snap. If he can't read what they're in, you don't know whether they're in man or zone, And then when they bring pressure, that even speeds up his clock even more. I think that Jalen Hurts has got to get back to just taking what the defense gives you, okay? And because there's this theory in the NFL, we want shot plays. We want the big play down the field. Well, you got to earn those. And the way that you earn those by running the football, forcing them to put the extra guy in the box. You earn those by continuously, moving the chains, and you earn that by getting a lead where you force the defensive coordinator to do some things that he might not want to do, okay? So let's not force the ball down the field. Let's just settle down and take what the defense gives you. Now, Dallas Goedert is going to be a big part. They're going to see to that, I promise you. But I also think that DeAndre Swift is going to figure in big tonight, too, in the passing game, because there's no doubt that the Minnesota Vikings are going to try to take a page out of what they saw last week and see how they can affect Jalen Hurts. But if Jalen will just be patient and take what they can get until they can get what they want, then they're going to have success.
Gunnar, you do a fantastic job, of course, setting people straight. I'll put it that way. And there's a lot of piping hot takes out there after just 1 week of football and Jalen Hurts. Piping hot takes. And I know that's the attractive, sexy thing to do nowadays. Am I crazy for not being concerned about Jalen Hurts? It seems that people are concerned about him in the passing game. Are they going to try to throw the ball more? They're taking a lot out of one bad game, one bad week one. And not even bad, but just not very good. Obviously, one offensive touchdown is not good. Obviously, being set up by that offensive touchdown by a fumble caused by Jordan Davis, that's a better marker feather in the cap of the defense. But when it comes to Jalen Hurts, how concerned should I be, Gunnar, after just 1 week of this 2023 season?
Last week was nothing more than a curtain opener on a new season, and it was not flawless. We were so spoiled last year because this was a methodical machine up and down the field. But when you consider the regulars didn't even play in the preseason, it takes a little while for that cohesiveness to come back, even though you have the entire unit back except your right guard. So I'm not surprised. Plus, you're playing against the elite of the elite when it comes to defensive minds when you're talking about a Bill Belichick. And as A.J. Brown said after the game, they threw some coverages at us we hadn't seen, we weren't expecting, we never quite adjusted. Luckily, they were talented enough just to do enough. As far as being worried about Jalen Hurts, no. Jalen Hurts is that guy at 24, 25 years old. He's a 45-year-old trapped in a 25-year-old body. I expect him to come out with a much more energetic game, much more accurate game, much more efficient game across the board from Jalen and this offense. The funny thing, Mark, what makes this game interesting to me is this. When I woke up this morning and I started analyzing this game, the first thing out of my mouth was seam route. Seam route. And I'm more concerned about who's covering T.J. Hawkinson down the seam than I am about this Eagles offense. I have a big fear about who's covering the middle of this field. They couldn't cover the two guys last week. How are they going to cover the highest paid tight end in the National Football League, who's a better athlete and faster and more physical?
But he's not the only one.
No, he's not.
Because when you lose James Bradbury, the thought is, we can send Darius Slade to travel with Justin Jefferson wherever he goes. The problem with that is now you give away coverage, because if he's traveling with him everywhere he goes, then that means that they're in man coverage. That's a dead giveaway for a quarterback with Kirk Cousins type of experience. So now, how do you get the rest of your team up to speed where you can have Darius Slade travel with him but have multiple coverages off of that, okay? And then that Minnesota is not beyond moving Justin Jefferson wherever he's most effective.
Right.
So if they can if they can look at the New England Patriots and look at how they just totally dismantled the middle of the field, what makes you think they won't put him in the slot?
That's right.
Okay? So now, is Darius Slade going to be on him in the slot? Is he going to be on him at X? Or is he going to be on him at Z? It's going to be really interesting to see how they get this under control, because T.J. Hawkinson is one thing, but the one thing you don't want to have happen is you don't want Justin Jefferson to find his footing, because he is a monster when he gets rolling. Kirk Cousins looks for him every time when he's got the hot hand.
It's funny you should say putting Justin Jefferson in the slot. Last season, when these two teams met in week number 2, Darius Slade held him to one catch for 7 yards on the outside. He got his other catches from the slot. Now, he didn't do a lot of damage, but the chess move is, and if the Vikings are smart, okay, we're going to move this piece around and see how they counter. Because the Vikings do have a number 3 receiver that's not too bad also that very few people talk about. Who's going to be on him on the outside?
Well, listen, these are all tactical things that, I can't wait to see. And this is the same Justin Jefferson that when he was coming out of LSU, somebody in Philadelphia said he couldn't play in the slot, right?
You had to bring that up.
Why?
You just had to bring that up.
Jalen Reagor isn't even on their team anymore, and we still got to go back. Like, he's literally been now. He's on his third team.
He's not even on the Vikings.
He's not even on the Vikings anymore. Exactly.
Yeah.
He's now with the Patriots, on the practice squad guy. Unfortunately.
Hey, I was just saying.
Yeah.
Thank you for the Wayback Machine. Yes.
But the other receiver D-Gun's referring to is the rookie Jordan Addison, who looked pretty good last week. 4 catches, 61 yards, had a big touchdown. The problem last week with the Vikings wasn't the offense putting up yardage. They couldn't stop turning the ball over. If they didn't have 3 costly turnovers, Kirk Cousins threw for over 340 yards. Justin Jefferson had 9 catches, 150 yards. So hopefully the Eagles are able to generate turnovers as well. But this offense definitely has the power to put up points.
Kirk Cousins, certainly a fantasy football Hall of Famer, of course. But in reality today, you could be looking at some struggles from Kirk Cousins, certainly. And 2 of those turnovers, by the way, sack fumbles.
Listen, Kirk Cousins did not have the best record in primetime football games.
11 and 18.
That's the first thing. The second thing is he's the guy that you want throwing the ball 44 times a game. Isn't that he threw 44 times last week?
Right.
Right? You want him throwing 44 times because with the type of pass rush that we can generate, especially if we can get an early lead, Kurt is the type of guy that's like, rather than take the hit, it's like, here, take the ball.
That's right.
That's how he plays. I mean, he makes some of the most boneheaded decisions under pressure. So that's a good thing for the Eagles tonight. The fact that, Kirk Cousins, listen, they have no running game to speak of. You let Dalvin Cook get out of town. You got this kid Madison who's taking over for him now, and I think he had 11 carries last week, 10 carries or something like that. So unless they're going to feature him, you're not going to feature him because your offensive line is in shambles. The minute that they get down, and they were close in that game last week against Tampa Bay. If the Eagles can manage to jump out to a 16-point lead early and force them to have to abandon the run and throw the ball, it's the defensive line going to be drooling on their face masks.
The thing that always has fascinated me in recent years about Kirk Cousins is this. Every time he plays in a primetime game, it's always mentioned. There's always interviews with the Minnesota media or national media talking to him about that. You would think there would be some inner mechanism to where he would want to change that. But he continues to be that same guy in a primetime game. You play him at 1 o'clock, you play him at 4:25, he plays like a Pro Bowler. You play him on a Monday night or a Thursday night, he plays like a guy who's only been in the league 1 or 2 years. I just can't believe for the life of me, for as long as he's been in the game, he's not been able to overcome that dark shadow in his career.
But think about why, okay? Why? Most players relish and can't wait for the bright lights.
Absolutely.
So that they can show the rest of the world, the rest of the NFL, how great of a player they really are.
Right.
Okay? Not every player can stand the pressure. One of the reasons why Kirk Cousins got ran up out of Washington is because of the pressure. One of the reasons why Kirk Cousins performed so inefficiently on primetime games is because of pressure. And Sean Desai and this Eagles defensive staff need to know that, okay? And they need to apply the pressure at every turn. Apply the pressure and force him to turn the ball over because he will turn it over if you apply the pressure.
Yeah, we were talking about the turnovers he had against the Tampa Bay Bucks. One of them was on a safety blitz. Antoine Winfield Jr. came in, lit Cousins up, stripped the ball, and recovered the fumble. So definitely got to put pressure on him tonight.
All right, here's where I pump the brakes on the idea of pressure and blitzing because I think you're going to get a lot of that from your line. But Seth, make me feel better about this, please. Josh Jobe is going to be out there in coverage tonight. He's going to be starting in place of James Bradbury in this situation. You're still going to have 2 very good corners in the other spots there, in Avonte Maddox and obviously Darius Slay. But then behind them, you got some inexperience at the safety position as well with Sidney Brown likely getting a start tonight possibly. When you look at that situation, are you going to be able to afford taking someone out of coverage to apply pressure to Kirk Cousins?
There's a difference between pressure and blitzing, okay? And the thing that I saw from Sean Desai last week, especially in the first half, is he's not averse to bringing pressure. Mm-hmm. Now, pressure doesn't mean that, you're all out and guys are out on the island. You can bring zone blitzes. You can fake a blitz from one side and drop out in zone and bring 2 guys from the other side. They had some nice pressures, but the problem was you had a guy like Mac Jones who doesn't throw the ball well downfield. But what he does do is he makes great decisions and he makes them fast, and he knew he had to get that ball out of his hand, okay? Kirk Cousins doesn't do that necessarily. he's got, if not the best wide receiver in the National Football League on his roster, and he's waiting for that guy to finish his route. I don't know whether they run sight adjustments when they notice blitz or what it is that they do. But Kurt isn't the guy that makes snap decisions right now. So that's an advantage for him. So I'm not saying, and I think people misunderstand what I'm saying when I say pressure. I'm not saying there's a time to blitz, zero coverage, man up across the board, and then there's a time for pressure. The time for pressure means that, we're trying to speed up Kirk Cousins' clock by bringing pressure or simulating pressure to make him begin to think and adjust protection up front. When you create chaos, that's how you create turnovers.
Understood. When you do look at a guy like Josh Jobe, and Gunnar, I know earlier in the week, Sean Desai, as you would assume, said all the right things, all the confidence in the world. He's got immense confidence in Josh Jobe going out there and starting at the cornerback position today for the Eagles in place of James Bradbury. So how confident should we be? How confident should the fan base be in Josh Jobe going out there?
Let me say this before you go, okay? If you got them guys on your roster, you better have some confidence in them.
What do you expect the head coach to say about a young player who's going to be under the spotlight tonight? Well, we have some concerns about him.
But that's why I'm not asking Sean Desai. Well, he sucks. Good luck to us because he sucks.
I have some concerns about him. He's an athletic young player, but he's inexperienced. Yeah. Okay? And my biggest concern is you're going to have 2/4 of your secondary that's going to be different than what it was in game one. There's a communication problem that could occur at a strategic time. If I'm the Minnesota Vikings, in the passing game, who am I attacking first when I go up to throw the ball? Josh Jobe with Addison, or I may even try to flip Justin Jefferson over there if Desai decides not to have his Pro Bowl cornerback follow Jefferson across the field. That's the matchup I want. Because that was what drove us nuts about Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon did not like to have his cornerbacks follow a receiver across the field. Whoever was on that side, that's who you had. We don't know if that's what Sean Desai's philosophy is or not. If that is, that's advantage Minnesota in a game like this tonight.
I gotta believe that Darius Slay, when he found out that James Bradbury wasn't playing tonight, went right to Sean Desai's office and said, I got that dude.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, my only concern, and I voiced it earlier, my only concern is how can you bring everybody else along so that when he travels with him, you can run all of your stuff. Mm-hmm. Even with him there, and he knows where to go, and the young guys know where to go, and the communication, to your point, is being made across the board. So, because oftentimes all it takes for one guy to be out of position,
fraction of a second.
That's it.
Yeah, fraction of a second.
And that's my big concern too, because you look at what they struggled with against the Patriots was those bunch formations with the wide receivers. They signal that they're running man, and they come out in those bunch formations with receivers as good as Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, which the Patriots didn't have, and you saw lack of communication. The corners weren't able to pick up when they were crossing, running those natural picks. So I'm really concerned if they signal that they're in man, Vikings come out in a bunch formation, how are they going to communicate when they need to pass a player off?
Well, the thing is, it all depends on what kind of coverage you're running. A lot of what they did last week was they had one guy up, two guys off on the inside, and once the route expressed itself, you always had the guy on the outside running, chasing. Normally, anytime you get a bunch, you get three guys together, and to understand spacing in your routes, you normally get one guy that goes out, one guy that goes in, and one guy's going to run some middle route somehow. Now, every once in a while, if they figure that that you get up, what they'll do is they'll send one guy out and send two guys on a slant and hit the slant behind. They're trying to create confusion. You know what I don't understand? I don't understand why, if you understand that that's how routes have to express themselves, then play an umbrella coverage. Because if I got three guys bunched up right here, I'm going to have one defender here, one defender here, one defender here. And all we're going to do is just backpedal and let the route express itself. And 9 times out of 10, the guy on the inside is going to get a route, the guy on the outside is going to get a route, and the guy on the inside is going to get a route. So you don't have to create that confusion about who got who, because sometimes even the best communication will cause chaos just by route design.
I want to take a minute here. Seth, you and I earlier in the week had the great pleasure of teaming up with some wonderful people at EBOD. And this, of course, is a wonderful organization that is helping to fight Alzheimer's. And we had the pleasure of going out there and meeting some wonderful people as JAKIB Media is announcing their partnership with EBOD in the fight against Alzheimer's. And to help raise awareness and also get some people talking about this, we're going to be putting on some fantastic things in partnership with EBOD. And it is the Big Game Sweepstakes. Here's what you got to do. Text SCORE to 833-202-9835. That's 833-202-9835. And we're going to have some fun here with our friends at Topgolf as well. Gunner, you're going to have a team. These are the promo codes that you want to text in as well. It's going to raise some money and raise some an opportunity for people to go to the big game, which is being played in Vegas.
You golf?
No, I top golf.
Yeah,
I don't golf.
He does that golf.
I'm a fisherman. You know that.
Yeah.
I don't go.
I don't know if you can translate this to this.
Oh, no, wait a minute now. When it comes to miniature golf and top golf,
Yeah.
I'm on the PGA Tour.
Oh, here we go.
Right
okay, so then in that case, text gun. Okay, text gun. Team gun. Team gun. There's Team Seth.
Will you write me a check right there?
Yeah. Casting is a bad thing in golf. Casting is a bad thing.
It is fantastic. You see the graphic up there. We have Team Miss, Team Seth, Team Gun. That's two N's right there. And Team Farzi as well for the EBOD Foundation. You guys can check this out, of course, online as well, and also follow JAKIB Media for more information surrounding this fantastic contest. We'll be back. We're going to talk to our friend Adam Malamut, who'll be there at Lincoln Financial Field to give us the vibe. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, real quick.
Yes.
Near the end of this show, I have 13 over-unders I want to present to you guys to see what you're thinking in this game tonight.
Oh, boy.
Spend some quality time on this, and I want to see what you guys are thinking.
While you were fishing?
Individual matchups as well as collective matchups.
I love it.
Right?
We'll get into that as well. We'll be back here on the JAKIB Media pregame show presented by Malamut Law.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES.
I got no sound if you guys can hear me. Hey guys, I got no sound if you guys can hear me, but it is electric down here. Go.
In a way, in certain situations, understanding, that you're going to have some mismatches on the inside, with your backers and coverage against TJ Hawkinson, trying to figure out, how you get him taken care of. I think you have to give him a steady diet of, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of coverage, a little bit of man, a little bit of zone, a little bit of zone pressure, zone blitz pressure. You got to mix it up because Kirk Cousins is a guy that, he can hurt you, if he can pre-snap read what you're doing, and he's got time. And if he's got time, it's 300-something yards last week. Now, to me, that's not a big deal anymore because, I played in the era where guys threw the ball 25 times and put up, 300 yards passing. When you throw the ball 44 times, you darn well should, throw for 300 yards. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, the way the game is evolving and the way the game is changing, if he's going to put the ball up that much, then you got to apply pressure to him. And because that he's that quarterback who is pressure adverse. There's some guys that just laugh in the face of pressure and be like, I can't believe you're coming at me right now. Check, let's get the pressure, let's get the protection right, and then all of a sudden they're off to the races. But that Kirk Cousins, and especially if you can kind of disguise what you're doing until you get to like 10 seconds on the play clock, where it's too late for him to check, it's too late for him to change the protection, and he's either just got to run the play or he's got to call a timeout.
Now, of course, we're going to pick your brain when it comes to the linebacker position with Nakobe Dean being out there. Gunnar will talk to you about that. Bill, you as well. But let's swing it back to Lincoln Financial Field where our man Adam Malamut is standing by when it comes to Lincoln Financial Field and what's going on. I know trying to get just through the city tonight and driving right by the stadium at Lincoln Financial Field, it looked absolutely incredible. The tents are up. The banners are flying. Everything looks amazing. So, Adam, when it comes to the scene down there at Lincoln Financial Field, take me through your process of just going through the parking lot, going through the tailgates, and getting into the stadium.
Hey, guys, it's awesome. It's awesome to be back. I need to dial back before we do that, Barzy.
Okay.
I got to talk to you guys about all these golf teams. I know Seth's a golfer. I'm just saying, I didn't hear a Team Malamut out there. So, I'm a free agent here. Seth is like tour worthy, but you got a guy here who likes to play golf also. So I'm just saying, the right price and I'm in.
All right. I'll have to see your backswing first, Adam, before I sign you up to Team Farzi.
All right. I got you. Fair enough. So before we do that, let me tell you, I'm standing right here in front of the Vikings who are warming up. Justin Jefferson came out a few minutes ago, did a couple laps around the field. These guys have no idea what kind of a beating they're in for tonight. These Eagle fans are rabid. There's some misplaced Minnesota fans. You can tell that they're not sure what kind of climate it is. I think there's some guy here in like a Howard Eskin looking fur jacket. But, it's amazing here. Fitzpatrick's down here. Ryan Fitzpatrick's here. Richard Sherman's here. I'm walking you guys over to the Thursday night football set. And I don't want to give any promotion to anybody other than JAKIB Media. but I want to give you guys an idea as to the size of the production that's going on down here. And I don't know if you can see over my head here, but it's pretty wild. I mean, the stands are not yet full, but the sidelines are. And the sidelines are full of people who, are out here to cheer on the Eagles. I see 2 or 3 purple jerseys. These guys have no idea what's coming for them.
Hey, Adam, I'm a little disappointed that you didn't give Justin Jefferson some Philadelphia flavor when you had an opportunity.
The security over here is kind of intimidating. And if I had Seth standing next to me, I might have been a little bit more forward, but they got these guys lying around the field because they understand that Philadelphia flavor. So they're trying to watch him. But next time I'm going to bring Seth with me. I'll be a little safer.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't fight no more, man. There's no doubt about that.
Seth, you're a visual deterrent. You're a visual deterrent, man. Visual deterrent.
If you say so. Adam, I think that Minnesota understands what they're in for, especially the fans who's brave coming to the link again. The last time, that they were here, they were here last year. But I like to, bring everybody's recollection back to the NFC Championship in 2017 and how offended the Minnesota fan base was at how they were treated at the link. I think they might get that same treatment. They might get that same treatment tonight all over again.
Listen. I said that I needed Seth, but Seth, I'm sorry, I don't need you because look over my shoulder. Look at what I got here.
There we go.
What's going on, bro?
What's up, Sean?
That's all I need, boys. That's all I need.
Hey, Adam, tell him D-Gun said what's up.
It's funny, baby. Thursday night football, where they green. What's your green? Living in a dream.
I need what that guy is on.
Adam,
I need some of that.
Adam, can you turn around and tell Sean that Farzy said one more time with some feeling, please? No. All right. But Adam, we appreciate you.
Hey, Sean, Farzy doesn't think you have enough energy. All right. I appreciate you guys.
That was fantastic. Thank you very much. Adam Malamut joining us right there on the Malamut, of course, pregame show presented by Adam Malamut and Law Offices right here on JAKIB Media, joining us from Lincoln Financial Field. Bill, I know you've been in the tailgates. I know you've been part of the party for a long time in Philadelphia as well. There is nothing like an Eagles tailgate.
Oh, and what a night they got. The weather is unbelievable tonight. Home opener, you really can't ask for more. We waited 7 months for the first game, and now we only had to wait 4 days for the next one, so I'm sure they're all fired up. Some people were there at 4:30 this morning, I saw.
Absolutely insane. And Seth, you bring up the point of following the 2017 season and that NFC Championship game. I remember being there at the link, and then I remember being out there in Minnesota for the Super Bowl. And, yeah, they held a grudge, man. They absolutely did not forget. However, they were, quote-unquote, mistreated while they were there in Philadelphia. Like, you guys weren't so nice to us out there. And it was, well, you know what? We're not going to roll out a welcome mat for you.
Well, they act like they didn't know that they was going to get treated like the redhead stepchild when they showed up in Philadelphia. Really? We're trying to run you up out of here, cheer our team on, and come win the Super Bowl in your damn stadium.
You do skull on our art museum steps on the city's biggest stoop?
When the team's going to learn about that? They keep
not
doing stuff to the Rocky statue. Just stay away from it,
Hey,
man.
I'm offended. We Midwesterners don't speak like that. We don't talk like that.
I thought you were Wisconsin.
I'm a Midwesterner. What do you think Minnesota is? It's a Midwesterner.
It's practically
Say
Canada.
Midwesterner.
Say boat.
What?
Say boat.
Boat? That's the way you said it. I said the same thing. I said the same way you said it.
Did you hear that enunciation?
I heard. That's great diction.
You East Coasters. You Yunzers.
Listen,
you going to get on me?
True story. I was in the Midwest. I was in a little town called Green Bay, Wisconsin, which I know you're familiar. And they said,
sir.
"Oh, you're
sir.
from Philadelphia?" I said, "Yeah." And they go, "Is that by the Jersey Shore?" Just like that. And I was just like, "What?"
You're pretty
you
good
watch
at that.
show? Well,
they were full of brats, man.
They were chock full of brats.
They were chock full of brats.
Brats and beer.
You mean the shore?
The shore?
The shore?
That was how it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
Oh, man.
All right, we're going to have John McMullen coming up in a minute from Lincoln Financial Field as well. He'll break down all that is to be broken down when it comes to this matchup. Also, the latest on the inactives when it comes to this Philadelphia Eagles matchup in prime time Thursday night football. Week 2 already of the NFL season. John McMullen will be joining us in a couple of minutes. We'll be back here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel in a few.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky, the largest workers' compensation law firm in Pennsylvania. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. Even better, Pond Lehocky doesn't charge a dime until you win.
Hey, Joe.
If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Hey, Joe. We're going till 7:30? Okay. Probably.
See, I would have got the, if I'd have said that, I would have got that proverbial.
My name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech, we offer 3 major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Go for the beers, go for the cheers, go for the hit and the hits, go for the scene, go for the screens, go for the gallery, go for the win, go to Ocean.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that behind-the-scenes look of the JAKIB Media pregame show, or at least audio version of it. Welcome in. We're just hanging. We're just like you. We're just hanging out. We're just chopping it up, as the kids like to say.
In the hood. I'm not responsible for anything I said during that break.
Boy, am I glad that I held back. I remembered my schooling.
That was not me. That was my alter ego, Darwin.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the JAKIB Media pregame show. We got John McMullen joining us from the stadium coming up in just a second, and also Derek Gunn in our final segment is going to give us some over-unders when it comes to this Philadelphia Eagles-Minnesota Vikings matchup. And now let's go back to Lincoln Financial Field and talk to our friend and our Eagles insider and co-host of the wonderful show here on JAKIB Media, Birds 365, along with Jody McDonald as well. John McMullen joins us. John, how are you? What are the Eagles going to do with all these injuries? Help us.
I think they're going to be fine. It's not a best case scenario. I'm more interested, was there a live mic situation?
Allegedly, John, allegedly.
Don't worry, John. We didn't say anything about you.
That's fine. You'd be the first one, so I'm not concerned about that. But obviously, yeah, the Eagles are banged up. But I think it's going to be about the fronts, and the Eagles are foundationally built the right way. They're strong up front on both sides of the football. I think Minnesota is weak on both sides of the football. I think as long as the pass rush gets home, I think the Eagles will be fine on defense. If it doesn't, then you got some issues because no Reed Blankenship, obviously no Nakobe Dean. That back seven, which we have questions, at least on the inside, maybe not the outside. And you don't have James Bradbury, so that's a concern as well, because that puts a lot of pressure on Darius Slay. And everyone talks about Justin Jefferson, the game Slay had last year. But the Vikings have 3 good receivers, so it's not just about Justin Jefferson.
Hey, John, the Eagles are going into this game with basically 3 outside linebackers, no true middle inside linebacker. And, of course, we saw how they had problems covering the middle of the field last week against New England's duo of tight ends. Now you've got this guy, Hawkinson, who's the highest paid tight end in the National Football League and more athletic than those last two last week combined. How do you defend this guy?
Well, I think he's going to get numbers. He's going to get a number of catches. He's usually up in the 8 to 10 range. The question is, can you hold him from those yards after catch? Now, he had 8 catches against Tampa Bay, but he only had 35 yards on those 8 catches. So, that's acceptable if you keep him from those yards after catch. The problem is Tampa Bay has Levante David, Devin White, Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yep.
They have guys that can stop the play when the catch is made. Do the Eagles have that at this stage? I'm not sure you could say the same thing.
John, is there a risk that Sean Desai could possibly be limited in what he calls tonight because of these injuries? There's a reason why coaches don't like young players because, first of all, they don't communicate. Second of all, they don't study the way they need to. They have to learn how to be pros, and they're prone to mistakes. Will that have a significant bearing on how Sean Desai calls the game? Because we saw last week he was pretty aggressive in the first half.
Yeah, I think it will, Seth. I mean, when you talk about the style of defense, the Vic Fangio-inspired defense, it's about communication on the back end. So it's always a concern when you have different pieces back there. There's an opportunity for blown coverages and those zone looks and those matchup zones. So you have Josh Jobe, who's going to start his first game. You have Terrell Edmonds is probably going to start at safety. Now, he's a veteran player, but it's his first time here. And he wasn't starting last week. Now he's probably going to start. You might see Sidney Brown get involved at some point, but we'll have to see on that. So I do think there's an opportunity for some blown coverages. That's why I think the Eagles, if they're going to win the game, they need to win it up front, and they need to win it with Fletcher Cox, who's going to play, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams dominating the interior of the Minnesota offensive line, which is not very good, to be kind. I think that's where the Eagles have to win the game. They have to get Kirk Cousins hurried up off the spots, maybe taking some dangerous chances as he did last year when he was in Minnesota. And I think they can do that because Ed Ingram, Garrett Bradbury typically, but it's going to be Austin Schlottman tonight, Ezra Cleveland. They're all bad pass protectors. They can get going if they're running the football. They're decent run blockers, but they're all bad pass protectors. I think that's where the Eagles have to win this game.
John, I think there's one key area that we may have overlooked. The Eagles' defensive line knows that they've got to be a force tonight. The area that I'm thinking about is to take some of the pressure off of Kirk Cousins, maybe a few bubble screens, a couple of screens to the backs, to kind of slow down the rush. Normally, that's the way you slow down the rush. When guys have just got their ears pinned back and they're coming at you 100 miles an hour, you take advantage of that. One stab by the offensive lineman, you get them out in the screen game, you get the screen game going. Now that you got them slowing down, they got to, respect the fact that you may run the screen or run the football. Now you can get, more into your pass offense. So it'd be interesting to see how they deploy what they do offensively to be able to slow this pass rush down.
Yeah, they're going to have to come up with something because they had a really, really difficult time against Tampa Bay. And, Vita Bay is a tremendous player, but more of a run stopper than a pass rusher. And he was throwing people around. And you can imagine coming off last week what Jalen Carter might be able to do. Seth, that's what I'm interested in with Jalen Carter because he's a young player. I'm sure he saw all the clippings, everybody telling him how great he was. To be a great player in this league, it's got to be consistency week after week after week after week. I want to see how he handles that success, so to speak. And he's got a great opportunity to do it against this particular team. So I think he's going to play well, but he's got to play well in that pass rush. And so does, Milton Williams, I thought, had a great game. Fletcher had a great game. Jordan Davis had a great game. The Eagles are really deep right on that interior, and they have to make up for the absences of Nakobe Dean and Reed Blankenship and James Bradbury. Bottom line, look, you're going to have a downgrade going to Josh Jobe. You're going to have a downgrade going to Christian Ellis. You're going to have a downgrade going to Terrell Edmonds. So other guys have to elevate and sort of pick those guys up.
John, we're talking about the interior pressure with Jalen Carter. It looks like the left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, is active tonight. Did you see him in pregame? How's he moving around? Because it'd be nice to see our edge rushers get a little bit more pressure this week.
Well, he's a really good player. He was moving around well. When I say Minnesota, I understand they have really good tackles. So Darrisaw's really good. Brian O'Neill, the right tackle, is really good. So that's kind of a strength for them in general. Now, the Eagles are strong at the edge as well, so that's a strength versus strength matchup. Hassan Reddick might win one battle. Brian O'Neill might win another. Same thing with Darrisaw and Josh Sweat. But why I focus on the interior is because the Eagles have the big advantage there. Not the case on the outside. Those are two of the best tackles in the league, and it's one of the best tackle tandems in the league.
And John, they're coming off a not-so-great game against that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Their edge rushers were able to get home, some blitzes and some just winning their one-on-one battles. So when you do look at maybe guys like Hassan Reddick or maybe even a guy like Nolan Smith, and I agree with everyone when it comes to Jalen Carter is going to get his tonight, but when you do move to the outside, what type of production do you expect to see from guys like Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith, and Josh Sweat, as you mentioned?
Well, I always expect to see production from Hassan and Josh. We have to see with Reddick and the thumb, and maybe he's limited a little bit. Josh Sweat I thought, played well, even though you don't necessarily get the numbers because the football was coming out pretty quickly from New England and Mac Jones. I think Kirk Cousins is more susceptible to holding on to the football because he wants to make big plays down the field. So he'll wait that extra half second. So maybe have more of an opportunity to get home this week than last week. That might help that outside edge rush. As far as Nolan Smith, he's not going to play a lot early in the season. He's clearly behind those guys, Reddick, Sweat, also Brandon Graham, even Derek Barnett. So, his main role is going to be special teams, and he'll get a handful of snaps, but I don't expect to see a lot of Nolan Smith on the edge.
Hey, John, put yourself in the coach's decision-making position, and with that said, how would you handle the running back situation? Who gets the workload tonight?
It's going to be interesting. I think fans are going to be happy to see DeAndre Swift. I mean, he's going to be the lead back, and I think Rashad Penny will mix in. But you know what? I mean, this team trusts Boston Scott, so I wouldn't be surprised if Boston gets in the mix as well. But from talking on Birds 365 all week, a lot of people weren't happy with how much Kenny Gainwell touched the football. So it can go one of two ways. This could be an indication and showing the fans why the coaching staff trusts Kenny Gainwell, wants Kenny Gainwell out on the field. Or Minnesota's not that talented on defense. Maybe it enables DeAndre Swift or Penny or even Boston to get a foothold and say, all right, maybe we'll look at these guys a little bit more. And then you'll have a real big test week 3 at Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay, while they, very poor team, and we'll get to that, but very good defense. So that'll be a better test. Vikings don't have a lot of talent on defense right now.
John, I'm listening to what you're saying. Is it even remotely possible that maybe the Eagles don't have the confidence in DeAndre Swift that we think they do? Because his numbers were down last week. You talk about the opportunity for Rashad Penny and for Boston Scott to kind of show what they're doing. Well, DeAndre Swift is an accomplished running back in this league, and I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to be able to show the Eagles what he can do as well.
Yeah, no, look, I think the Eagles want to get DeAndre involved more in the passing game than a running game. He's a tremendous receiver. But yeah, I think people jumped the gun on DeAndre because for whatever reason he was a high draft pick. He's a Philadelphia native. He's never had more than, I think, 620-something yards in a season. So it's not like he's had big seasons as a runner in Detroit. And the problem I have with that, Seth, is remember the Lions were a bad team and they drafted DeAndre Swift to be the guy in the backfield. And he never became the guy in the backfield in Detroit. Maybe you're starting to see why. I've said it pretty consistently this week. Look, what do the Eagles devalue? They devalue running back, and they devalue your position, Seth, linebacker, and they don't pay those positions, and you generally get what you pay. And we're talking about running back and linebacker because, look, they pay the offensive line. They pay the defensive front. They pay the cornerbacks. They have good players. At running back and linebacker, not as good.
Same thing to make you laugh, make you cry, John. Same thing to make you laugh, make you cry. Because you can devalue those positions all you want, but look at where they're sitting at this point in time.
Hey, John, a lot of fans, especially Marc Farzetta, are calling for Sidney Brown to get a lot of reps tonight. What do you think they're going to do with the safety position tonight?
Well, I think Terrell's going to start. But, this whole defensive philosophy is about coverage safeties, which is one of the reasons Justin Evans won the job opposite Reed Blankenship. So if they start having problems and they're getting gouged by Jefferson and Addison and Osborne and Hawkinson, I think there's an opportunity for Sidney to get some reps and maybe show the coaching staff he's a little bit more ready than they think. But it looks like they're going to start with Terrell Edmunds and kind of see how it goes. And if it goes well, you won't leave the field. One thing, if you get playing time, you get an opportunity. If you play well, nobody's going to take you off the field.
John, is it an experience thing tonight that the Eagles are, starting Terrell Edmunds more so than anything else? Because I know that we had the conversation last week, and I think the area that he lacks in the most is coverage. It's one of the reasons why, what's the other guy that started last week?
Justin Evans.
Justin Evans. Yeah. The reason why he won the starting job last week. So, again, you're going to take a guy and put him in there against one of the premier wide receivers in the National Football League on this night. What is it going to take for him to, relinquish a touchdown, for them to say, okay, let's put Sidney Brown in there and let's live or die with him because he has the ability to cover better? I'd rather live with that right now, right out the gate, than to wait and see, knowing full well that guy could be a liability.
Started week one, to be honest, and I said throw him in the deep end of the pool and see what happens, because I thought the Eagles could persevere against New England, maybe make a couple mistakes. Same thing here tonight with Minnesota, same thing with Tampa Bay next week, and then you could have them maybe up to speed for one. Now you don't even have to worry about Aaron Rodgers in week 6, but down the road when you have to worry about Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, those guys, maybe he's more prepared to play. I would have thrown him in the deep end, but yeah, you mentioned it, Seth. A lot of coaches don't trust young players. I think the Eagles are there with Sidney Brown. They still don't trust him yet, and that's the reason why he's not out there.
John, before we let you go, as always, we'll close with your official prediction ahead of Eagles-Vikings Week 2. What do you got?
This is what I mentioned.
I'm sorry,
styles
John.
Make bites. This is a.
I'm sorry, John.
Yeah.
We it was cut out at the beginning there. Go ahead. Your prediction again, sir?
Styles make bites. This is a bad matchup for the Vikings with their offensive line versus the interior of the Eagles defense. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be comfortable. I think the Eagles are going to win the game 31-21, relatively easy.
31-21, John McMullen, Birds 365, our Eagles insider, has when it comes to this matchup tonight. John, thanks so much, man. Check in with you at halftime.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it,
John.
John McMullen joining us right there from Lincoln Financial Field. Appreciate it as always. All right, when we come back, we have some over-unders that Derek Gunn wants to run through. I can't wait to hear what he's got cooked up. We got our predictions as well ahead of Eagles-Vikings tonight. We'll be back in a few.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
We all know that taxes are just part of life. It's true during our working years, but also in retirement. But what you might not know is up to 85% of your Social Security benefits might be taxed. Our team at Thrive Financial has helped retire thousands of people across the Delaware Valley by asking questions they never knew they needed to ask, including how their Social Security benefits might be taxed. It's time to be proactive on taxes. Get your Thrive Retirement Tax Playbook today.
Weather forecasting is a team game.
We rely on each other every day, updating the models and passing along new critical information.
We have a team of 5 experienced meteorologists and a specialized weather producer, Paul. Say hi, Paul.
Sometimes what I see in the model, Cecily could see something different.
That's when we come together as a team to make our most accurate prediction.
And all of this backed by more than 100 AccuWeather scientists. It's a team game.
And we have the best team in town.
EAGLES.
A year or two.
No guaranteed money. Starting, demoted to second string, to cut, to being brought back to the practice squad. Tell you all you need to know about Morrow.
I had a.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the JAKIB Media Free. Oh, but you guys want to continue to get caught with hot mics? Now, that time during the break, we were talking football all the time. Are we going? Oh, by the way, Joe, live. I'm going to ask you this question. Are we going?
I'm glad D. Gunn was talking, not me.
That wasn't D. Gunn. That was Darren.
It was Darren. Darren Gunn. Boy, that Darren Gunn, man. He's quick. The Eagles could use him in the backfield. Are we going to the link one more time to talk to our friend Joe? Potentially going back to Lincoln Financial Field to the parking lot to check with our friend Joe Mesa of Mesa Law and Associates. All right, we've been covering it all when it comes to Eagles-Vikings tonight. We've talked a lot about your quarterback, Jalen Hurts, and the opportunity for a bounce-back game. We've also talked about plenty of other things when it comes to what this defensive line could do to this banged-up Minnesota Vikings offensive line. But Derek Gunn is cooked up. This is Derek, right? Not Darren. He left. Darren
This is
left.
Derek right
Derek's
now,
back.
yes.
Okay, football extraordinaire
Darren's
coverage.
only in the commercial breaks.
Derek Gunn has cooked up over-unders for us
Yes.
when it comes to this matchup, or is this week 2 of the NFL?
No, just this matchup
Just this
tonight.
matchup. What do you got, Gunner?
All right, I'm going to start with you, Farz.
Yeah,
Over-under
right.
for Jalen Hurts rushing yards, 45. You taking over-under.
Ooh, that's a spicy meatball. I'm going to go over
You're going
45
over.
and a half. Yeah.
Seth, Bill, over-under 45 yards rushing for Jalen.
Under.
Under.
I'm going under as well because I don't think he's going to have to run tonight. I think he's going to throw it. He's going to have a lot of yards in the air.
All right, coming back to you, Bill. Hurts again. Over-under passing yards, 315.
I think you're going to see him go over. Last year in this game, he had 390 yards. I expect at least 350 for Hurts tonight.
Seth, do you agree or disagree?
I disagree because I think that they're going to get what they need early. They're going to get a lead, and then they're going to dominate defensively, and they're going to run the ball and just chew the clock up.
Farz, you the tiebreaker. Over-under 315 passing.
I got to go under. I got to agree with my man Seth on that one. When it
Okay.
comes to this game, I agree with the way it's going to play out, and plus I think the Eagles are going to do what they do really well, which is run the football, and I think they'll have an opportunity to do that tonight.
All right, Seth, start with you on this one. A.J. Brown, 7 catches, 85 yards, over-under.
What did he have? 7 for 79 last week?
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Yeah, on 10 targets.
Yep.
I'll say over.
Over?
I'll say over. And Minnesota's cornerbacks are not that great. The focus will probably be on Dallas Goedert early, but sooner or later, A.J. Brown's going to get his targets.
Bill, 7 catches, 85 yards for A.J., over-under.
Well, considering I have Jalen Hurts throwing for over 350, I'm going over with A.J. Brown.
Farzi, what say you?
I'm going to go under. I think he has a good game, but I don't think he quite gets to those numbers.
Ooh, Dallas Goedert, Farzi, start with you. Over-under 6 catches tonight.
So I'm going to go over.
Say that in English, Farzi.
That's going to go over
Okay.
6 catches when it comes to Dallas Goedert tonight.
Seth, what say you?
Over.
Over? Bill?
I said over.
Over. Okay, is that an East Coast over? Is that how you said it in New York?
It sure ain't no Midwest one.
Now, is that over or under for the first half? Because I think he gets 6 catches in the first half. Though.
No, I'm going to extend and say the game.
That's a prop bet.
Yeah, he's getting 6 catches in the first half.
You know the bet. Go to the window right
I'm
now.
going right over to Butch over there.
All right, Eagles defense had 2 sacks on Mac Jones last week. Mr. Farzetta, I'm setting the over-under and getting to Kirk Cousins and putting him on the turf at 3.
Okay, at 3. All right.
At 3.
I'm going to say, all right, this is where I had to
They
take
only
off.
got him twice officially last year.
Yo.
As dominant as that game was last year, they only had 2 official sacks on Kirk Cousins last year. Over under 3, Farzetta.
I'm going over. I had
What
to
is with
fight
you
the
stirring
Earl
against this
because I
espresso?
just have to say.
What the heck is wrong with you?
I like to build it up a little bit, a little dramatic verbal pause.
Bill, over under 3.
I think it's going to be over because I think Kirk Cousins is going to drop back at least 40 times like he did in the last game. So they're going to get some pressure on him.
Seth?
And Jalen Carter going to have 3 all by itself, man.
All right, here we go. Eagles team rushing yards, Seth. I'll set the over under 115.
Total? You talking
Total
about?
for the game,
Total.
115.
Oh, they'll have more.
More?
For sure, because if they get the lead, if things play out the way that I suspect that they'll play out, and they get a lead, then they're going to be trying to run the clock out. So they're going to be running the ball. They're going to be balanced almost 50-50 tonight, run the pass.
All right, Bill, over under 115.
I'm going over. They only had 97 yards last week, and they didn't play that well. So I think 115 is pretty easy for them to get this week.
The Eagles will have 127 rushing yards tonight.
How did you come up with 127?
I'm brilliant. What do you just want me to
I
say
don't doubt
over
your
again?
brilliance. I'm
You
just
just want me to say
curious how you come
over
up with
again?
127.
They're going to get over 115 yards in this game. I think they're going to be up closer to 125.
That's Farstradamus over there.
Can you spell that?
We'll be here a minute.
F-A-R-Stradamus.
All right, let's go to the enemy. Here's a good one. I'm going to start with you, Seth. Justin Jefferson, 8 catches, $120, over under.
Oh, under.
Okay.
Because I think Slayer's going to be like in his shorts with him all night tonight.
You agree with that, Farsi?
Give me the line again.
8 catches for Justin Jefferson, $120.
He definitely gets 8 catches, and I think he'll go over $120. I think that Justin Jefferson is going to get his tonight, and he's going to make us face palm a couple of different times during tonight's game.
Bill?
Yeah, I hate to disagree with Seth, but I'm going over on the 120.
All right.
How many yards did he have last year?
He had 46 on.
How many catches did he have last year?
7.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, he had 6 for 48 last year.
Oh, okay.
All right. Farzy, the rookie. Farzy, the rookie. Jordan Addison, 6 catches, 90 yards. Over under.
I'm going to go yards under. I'm going to go over on catches, too. I'm going to say 7 catches. Barely.
Catches, how many yards?
90 yards.
Oh, he ain't getting 90 yards.
Yeah.
He may
If
be.
he's on Josh Jobe all night, you don't think he'll get 90 yards?
Hey, y'all act like Josh Jobe is some kind of scrub.
I
man.
didn't say it was a scrub. He's inexperienced. That's all I said. I didn't say
He's
scrub.
playing against a rookie wide receiver,
Yeah,
too.
but the rookies know. You said, this wide receivers always know where they're going. The DBs have to count it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, I live with a defensive mindset.
Yes.
You do. Prove to me that you can't do it before I say you can't do it.
Okay.
Josh Jobe is going to give Addison the job tonight.
All right.
All right?
Talented until proven a scrub.
Bill?
Yeah, I have Addison on my fantasy team. I put him on the bench tonight.
Oh, my God.
Because he's going to be under.
Oh, my goodness. All right, here we go. Vikings rushing yards, Bill, over under 50.
Their rushing offense is so bad on that team, and now they're losing their starting center. I'm going under.
Under. Seth?
They couldn't even manage. They couldn't manage 50, 60 yards last week.
Nope.
And
under.
And I think what happened was they also realized that they couldn't run the ball. So if the Eagles put them in a situation where they realize they can't run the ball, they'll stop even trying to run the football.
Okay, last one for me. T.J. Hockenson, highest paid tight end in the National Football League. 8 catches, 75 yards. Bill?
Considering last week the Patriots targeted the tight ends 9 times and they went 8 for 92,
Yep.
and that's not with T.J. Hockenson on the team,
Yep.
I'm going over.
Seth?
I'm going over just because they got to prove to me that they can remedy the middle of the field problem with the tight ends and the slot wide receivers before I can give them the vote of confidence.
Farzy, you get the final say.
I'm going to go under, thanks to a word, overcompensation. They're going to overcompensate for getting burned by tight ends last week, and they're going to take care of T.J. Hockenson tonight.
Okay.
And then he's going to give some of his money to Dallas Goedert.
Okay. All right. There you have it.
There you have it. I love it.
The floor is yours, my friend.
I appreciate that.
Over under, Christian Ellis, 8 tackles total.
Over.
Yeah.
Yes.
He'll be all over the field.
I tried to tell you. I tried to told you.
Wait, is that a number you just made up for an over-under, or is that when you got off the thing?
I wrote it down. Come on, man.
That's an actual prop bet.
I never make it up.
The real question, though, is are those tackles 5 yards down the field, or are they going to be near the line of scrimmage? Let's hope they're near the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, really.
Or I'll take behind it. Maybe they're in the backfield.
There we go. A couple tackles for loss.
Exactly. A couple TFLs.
If it's in the passing game, it is what it is.
I'm 1,000% with you. Gentlemen, before we get to our predictions, we want to get into one more thing regarding this game. We did start the show by talking about Fletcher Cox. We just talked to John McMullen, but Gunnar, I want to get your take on it as well. We're still expecting Fletcher Cox to be a go in this game tonight.
Yes, once again, confirmation is Fletcher Cox will be in this game tonight. You know what they're going to do? They're going to deaden up his ribs any way they can to get him out on the football field. They're going to need him tonight. So, yes, he will be there tonight. But as I said off the top of this show, I'm hoping he's able to finish what he starts.
Okay.
All right.
Finish the game, sure.
Yes.
Ribs, huh?
Yeah.
Now,
you've had ribs injuries, right? So you know what that's like?
No, bro. I broke ribs. I didn't get my ribs injured.
Did you play with broken ribs?
I never injured my ribs.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, let me stop.
I tore the cartilage before in between the ribs.
Yeah.
Painful.
You know how hard that is to breathe? Oh.
It does not sound good.
Gunnar, last week, Fletcher Cox played 62% of the defensive snaps. Jordan Davis only played 44%.
Yes.
You expect Davis to play more reps than Cox this week?
No. If Cox can go, he's going to be right around that number. If he tells him early in the game that it's not feeling right, then the numbers you'll see fluctuate a little bit. But I expect Cox to be Fletcher Cox has played with rib injuries before and has played well. So whatever this is, it was deemed early on in this week that it wasn't anything that can negate him from getting out on the field tonight.
I think his numbers dropped tonight. And
Lower
than
62%?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I think you see Milton Williams play a lot more. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, man, you go back and you look at the film, Milton Williams had a heck of a game.
Yes, he did.
He just got overshadowed by the other two rookies.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm being told we can go back to now are we at the parking lot at Lincoln Financial Field? We're going to try to connect. This is in an effort to bring you the pulse and the electricity outside Lincoln Financial Field at the tailgate. Our friend Joe Messa is standing by. Joe, how you doing? How you feeling? Set the scene for us. Feeling good?
We're headed soon. We're going to do this big night. This home opener. My prediction, 31-24. Eagles.
Oh my goodness. Okay. You and I have eerily similar predictions when it comes to tonight's game. Just set the scene. As far as the electricity at Lincoln Financial Field, the parking lot, the whole tailgate, what's going on down there? I'm sure it's amazing. All right,
beer and alcohol flowing.
Fantastic, Joe. Unfortunately, we have a horrible connection, my friend, but it was good to see you. Hopefully, we can check in with you as the season goes on a little bit more down the line. All right, let's go into our official predictions. Now, spoiler, I'll go first here because, Joe, I've been saying this all week. I've stuck to it. 31-24 is my final score when it comes to this game. I think this is going to be the type of game where the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts in particular silences a lot of the critics that all of a sudden sprung up just waiting to talk negatively about the reigning runner-up and the MVP, and a guy that's the third best player in the league overall taking on the second best player in the league overall according to the player votes in the NFL Top 100. But I think Jalen Hurts is going to come out tonight. I think he's going to deal. I think we're going to be feeling good about this game going into the fourth quarter. And then I think we're going to get some garbage time touchdowns and yards by Kirk Cousins and that offense. Gunnar, I'll go to you next. What is your prediction for Eagles-Vikings?
And with what you just said, I expect the Eagles to build a lead early on and then protect it late. And the Vikings pad their stats. I think the final score will be around 31-27.
31-27, a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Seth Joyner, what you say?
The Eagles have traditionally, when they had a bad game, they always respond the next week with an outstanding performance. Very rarely do they play back-to-back bad games in any phase of the game. I'm always worried about special teams because until they prove to me that they can play with some kind of consistency, and they've been average at best ever since Nick Sirianni's been here. I think that the leaders that you have on the defensive side of the ball, the leaders that you have on the offensive side of the ball, they know that they did not play up to the level and the standard that they've set for themselves. And I just think that, even though it's a short week, the mentality, the attention to detail, the 100 walkthroughs that they've been through to figure out, what they did wrong and how to communicate and get it right, even though you got some young players, I look for the Eagles to dominate, and I think they win this game. Minnesota 14, Philadelphia 32.
We're all in that same ballpark so far. Bill, what say you about this matchup?
Well, Seth's starting to convince me otherwise here, but I'm already on record on my Instagram page with my prediction, so I'm probably going to have to stay with it. But I think the Vikings are going to be able to put up more points than what Seth thinks. I really think that you got a lot of changes on that defense. We still have a new defensive coordinator in Sean Desai trying to get used to all these pieces, and now you're adding all these changes with all these injuries. I think the Vikings are going to put up 27 points. I think the offense has to score 30 points in this game, not only to win the game, but for us to feel good about it tomorrow morning.
All right, so your final?
30-27.
30-27. Oh, is it going to be a last-second field goal by Jake Elliott? Is he the MVP again for a second straight week?
I think the Vikings are going to score late. I think the Eagles will be up by double digits. Vikings will score late, 30-27. They don't cover.
That would be the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
That is very true. That is dead on. All right, folks, so we're obviously feeling pretty confident. So I want to go back around the horn here. When it comes to concern, I think the obvious name there is Justin Jefferson. But if the Eagles do not play up to the standard in which a lot of us think they could play at, Gunnar, let me ask you, what are you most concerned about? What is the biggest concern? If things start falling apart in this game, Derek Gunn, what will it be and where would it be?
There's no question defending the middle of the field with that guy named T.J. Hawkinson running down the seams. They couldn't stop Hunter Henry last week. They couldn't stop Mike Gesicki last week. And this guy's a much bigger and more athletic target than those two combined. And Minnesota wants to get him in the game. As Bill said, Hawkinson had 8 catches last week for only 35 yards because there's so many substitute parts playing in this Eagles defense, and I'm concerned about communications as well. I think this could be a big night for Hawkinson.
Seth, number one concern. What is it?
Listen, I think that Sean Desai will have come up with a remedy for the middle of the field issue. If that means that they've got to play some robber coverage, to drop a guy in late for those crossing routes and things, and those seam routes and things of that nature, then I think that, he'll figure that out. There's remedies for that, if you will. Especially when you're playing against a team that can't run the ball, then that allows you to line up at 2 high safeties, and you can drop robbers, you can rotate covers. There's so many things you can do out of the 2 high look if you're not worried about having to stop the run. My bigger concern is A, special teams, and B, seeing Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts get into some type of rhythm. Frustration sometimes sets in, and I've seen Jalen Hurts not only get frustrated because in a lot of ways, he couldn't figure out what Bill Belichick was deploying last week, but also seeing him get a little bit bent out of shape and a little impatient to not take what the defense was giving him and start forcing the ball down the field and holding on to the ball, waiting for routes to develop. No, they just got to take what the defense is giving them. They got to run the football and wait for their opportunity to strike downfield, because that's earned. That's not something you just get because you just want to, you just call the play and you want to go deep. You got to earn the right to be able to throw the ball deep downfield.
Certainly a concern. Bill Colarulo, what say you when it comes to the biggest concern of this game?
Yeah, I've already accepted the fact that I think the Vikings are going to put up points on our defense. So I think where things could go off the rails here is if that offensive line doesn't play well. We saw some really uncharacteristic things last week. Lane Johnson gave up 6 pressures. Jordan Mailata gave up 4. Now, this isn't the New England Patriots defense, but let's hope that's all it was last week, and this offensive line gets back to the dominant force that they are, and that offense will run right off it.
Yeah. That's a legitimate concern. But I would have hated to have been on that offensive line and sat in Jeff Stoutland's meeting the last 3 days, man.
Well, it's going to be interesting because the Vikings have Daniil Hunter on one side and Marcus Davenport, who's playing with the ankle injury, is playing tonight, and he's an edge rusher for. So there's going to be some good matchups in that regard tonight.
And to the New England point, we haven't mentioned Brian Flores and what he can bring to the table as a pupil of Bill Belichick. So all things to watch out for tonight. But just to set the record straight, those are only concerns. We're obviously not that concerned when all of us have the Eagles winning tonight's game. So we'll be back with you guys. Bill and I will be back in these seats when it comes to the halftime show here on JAKIB Media, and then we'll be back here with Mike Missinelli for the JAKIB Media postgame show along with Kayla Santiago. See you guys then. Thanks for watching JAKIB Media pregame, brought to you by Malamut Law.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up, and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors.
We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.